It's no secret that video game consumers equate value with length, and the unavoidable result of this mindset is a litany of video games that are bloated with side quests and optional content to pad out the gameplay hours. For every example of this resulting in a great game filled with high-quality content, there are like 30 games whose filler is of the garbage variety. In this video, I will discuss games that I enjoy that defy my aversion to long runtimes. These games laugh in the face of 100 hours played but remain chill for me to play because, like coffee and cigarettes and everything else I enjoy doing, I could stop anytime I want and not feel the guilt of quitting a game before it's complete. Sit back and relax and join me in reviewing my top 5 chill games that never end. Number 5. No Man's Sky. At the time of making this video, I've put around 80 hours into No Man's Sky, and I'm well aware that this number is small potatoes compared to the large potatoes of No Man's Sky veterans who have logged over 1,000 hours and have more of every type of currency than they know what to do with. I'm aware that there is a main quest line, and I am pretty sure that I've done some of the main quest, but I'd guess that I've spent around 10 hours doing main quest stuff and the rest of my time walking around new planets or building my Sky Hotel base on my home planet. Not only does the game seem content to let me waste my time with no sense of urgency to complete missions, the developer Hello Games has famously added a ridiculous amount of content in a successful bid to overcompensate for the lack of content available at release. There are apparently 18 quintillion different planets to explore, so even if there weren't expeditions and Nexus missions and freighters to buy and frontier settlements to manage, a player could literally spend the rest of her or his life traveling from planet to planet and never come close to seeing a fraction of the possible planets. As with the rest of the games included in this list, the impossibility of seeing this game through to a satisfying completion erases the pressure I put on myself to complete games. I'm able to invest hours into this game doing whatever I want, knowing that I'm not adding unnecessary gameplay hours to the runtime. The game seems to understand this as well, and it's the chill exploring aspect of the game that always comes to my mind when I think of No Man's Sky. Many of the planets are absolutely gorgeous video game worlds, made all the more unique by their desolate and unexplored nature. Number 4. Everything. Everything is a one-of-a-kind game that allows you to be, well, I'm gonna say essentially anything. The gameplay consists of more mechanics than you'd think that allow you to become different things that exist. I'm not sure if my examples are going to help clarify or not, but if you ever wanted to be a gigantic mountain lion or a flock of cars or a planet, I don't think there's any other game that would satisfy you. Everything combines chill music with a game design devoid of fail states, puzzles, objectives, or goals. It's the ultimate swimming, floating, flying, driving, walking simulator set not in just an open world, but an open plane of existence. The game logs the player's progress, so that implies a state of completion, but even if someone did spend enough time in the game to become every rock and plant and gas known to man, there are also conversations to be had between trees and elk, and a library of lectures given by philosopher Alan Watts that the player must explore to access. The game also includes a brilliant autoplay feature that allows the player to set the controller down and still experience the unique visuals, music, and philosophical insights. I'm including everything on the list of never-ending games, mostly because I can't imagine the game experience would change significantly even after 100%ing the encyclopedia built into the game. It's going to be a chill experience about the connectedness of everything in the universe, regardless of checklists or completion status. There is no story arc that completes and renders the rest of the game pointless. The simulation could continue forever. Number 3. The Sims 4. The Sims absolutely qualifies as a game that doesn't end, but I hesitated including it in the list because it would likely score fairly low on the chill rating system. The sandbox nature of the game should lend itself to a chill experience. There's no set objective or storyline. Any goals the player has set are set by the player. I tend to get fairly invested in my Sims, especially when I make one who looks like me, so I can kind of make the game stressful by myself by constantly tending to the character's needs and not enjoying the actual simulation aspect of the game. I tend to have a more chill go of it when I am playing a household I've created for other characters, and watching them do their own thing is a far more relaxing way to play the game. As is the case with most PC games that are ported to consoles, the controls are kind of funky, but not so bad that they ruin the gameplay. And if I can stop overriding the avatar's horrible decisions and set the controller down and let the simulation run its course, the somewhat awkward controls are negated entirely. There is no reason to think The Sims 4 would ever end. There are just short of an infinite amount of possible combinations of personality traits and physical characteristics that could be assigned to a given sim, ensuring either multiple playthroughs or one massive sandbox filled with dozens of varied playable characters. Combined with the lighthearted nature of the game's visuals, music, and Sims vocal babble, and throw in the dozens of hours I've put into the game, and its ubiquitous presence on my PlayStation for the last 3 years, and The Sims 4 has earned its place on the list, despite the somewhat stressful method in which I sometimes choose to play the game. Number 2. Tetris Effect. Tetris Effect is a triumph of game design, sound design, art design, and timelessness. Where other iconic video games like Pac-Man have failed to remain relevant in the current world of AAA open-world fetch quest extravaganzas, somehow, Tetris managed to release its best iteration just 3 years ago. With dynamic visuals, a gorgeous soundtrack, and an utterly tried-and-true gameplay loop, it's no wonder players are still hooked to the game today. There's no filler, there's no upsetting plot twists, there's a multitude of game modes and an infinite supply of falling blocks. The highest difficulties are laughably hard, and so I waved goodbye to completing the game in the traditional sense a long time ago. But the traditional sense of completing the game really doesn't apply to Tetris Effect. Even after having heard every song and having seen every backdrop the game has to offer, I still regularly find myself booting up the game for a quick run to 30 lines cleared. Not only does Tetris Effect give a lot of compelling reasons to keep coming back, it gives no reason at all to ever stop playing. Number 1. Hunting Simulator 2. Hunting Simulator 2 might not seem like a very chill game from the surface. After all, it features guns, bears, and an admittedly tedious gameplay loop of tracking, killing, and then tracking again before the process is repeated again. No step of this process is easy. Initially tracking the animals requires the player to follow actual tracks, avoid being upwind of deer, use call lures and scent lures, and getting within eyesight without startling the animal and causing it to sprint away. To kill the animal, the player must have a license to hunt that species, and the right caliber firearm to do so. The shooting mechanics are tight and straightforward with an emphasis on shot placement. The animal will bleed more and die faster if vital organs are hit, but even more urgently, the player is probably only going to get that one shot. Not only will the animal flee at the sound of gunfire, but the carcass will be worth far less if shot multiple times. In a final twist of harsh realism to really drive home the idea that this is not an arcade hunting shooter, the player is fined in-game currency if an animal is shot an excessive amount of times. Assuming the player is successful with their shot, the animal is almost never going to die right away. Instead, the player is tasked with blood trailing the animal to its final resting place, at which point it can finally be claimed for trophy or for profit. Did any of that sound particularly chill? Well, probably not, but please understand, my goal was never to kill one of every animal or buy every available piece of equipment. The game offers 6 distinct maps that we can travel to during 3 distinct times of day, drops us in these sandboxes, and lets us do whatever we want. If one were so inclined to treat this game as an utterly serene walking simulator, Hunting Simulator 2 does nothing to jump in and discourage this. In fact, considering the game's commitment to realism includes 4K 60 frames per second photorealistic environments and a literal haptic walking feedback in the controller, I'd say Hunting Simulator 2 is the walking sim that takes its walking the most seriously of all the walking sims I've played. The mountainous woods of Colorado, the harsh deserts of Texas, and the dreary marshland of the Czech Republic would be pretty much unbearable for me in real life because of the insects alone. But at their most effective, video games can take a player to a place they could, or would, never be able to go to otherwise. While my preferred genre of game continues to be narrative-based walking simulators around 5 or 6 hours in length, my desire to keep my horizons broad leads to me trying different types of games. I prefer to be able to complete a game, check it off my list, and move on with my life. But there is also something very comforting about a game that you know is going to be there, waiting for you, and beckoning to jump in wherever you left off. If I left your favorite never-ending chill game off the list, leave a comment below. Or if you just want to say great job because you agree with all my choices, that's cool too. If you enjoyed this list, click the like button and subscribe to Chill Game Reviews for more chill video game content.